Anti-Society, welcome back to the Antisocial Planet, and today we are checking out Hyunjin's Contradicting, and I'm excited. I'm always excited when I get to check out some of these kind of random solos stuff, but especially with Hyunjin because I find that there's just something about the way that he makes songs that draws me in. Maybe it's an artist to artist thing, but his songs always have this feeling of atmosphere, like being within a moment that I find really fascinating. It's almost like the way that he writes lyrics comes from this place of train of thought. You feel like you're like existing within this suspended moment along with him. So I'm excited to see what this song is going to be about, what it's going to sound like sonically. The video isn't going to be like a whole lot just because it isn't like an official big production, but excited to just kind of focus in on the song and see what he has for me this go around. Very dramatic cover photo for this song. Bit of a darker tone. I don't know if that'll be reflected in the song though.
Why is love so contradicting? I can't stop it, so addicting. Why is love so? Why is love so? Why is love so? Why is love so?
Ooh, okay. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't the very distorted vocals and having the guitar very forward. Like, it almost has a pop punk inspired feeling to it. Love that we're getting some art, I'm assuming made by him as well, but interesting. I also know that we have the double lyrics, but you know what? Some of us are not great when it comes to sight. So I'm gonna keep my bigger captions on, all right? Some of us need a little assistance when it comes to seeing stuff. Yeah, interesting sound from him. I'm just gonna go back.
Why is love so contradicting?
Like there's two guitar lines, right? There's like a chunky one and then kind of the main one. A lot of connection with his vocals too. Ooh, it's interesting too that we have all of these voices like overlapping as well, like having this like echo but not quite. It's not like he's not taking the same vocal tract and just like putting like a reverb on it or like copy and pasting it so that you get echo effect. It's like multiple voices like talking over each other, which I think is really interesting, especially given the kind of chaos in the art that is being chosen for this, of having these multiple thoughts and like voices coming at you where there's this internal turmoil, a little bit of a tongue twister happening that you're trying to mask on the outside, but there's more of an internal frustration to everything that's going on, especially since I was saying he's got a bit more of closure to his voice. He tends to, when he's singing, have a bit of a lighter, breathier side to it, as opposed to like his rap cadence, right? Where there's a little more ping to the way that he performs, but there's always this feeling of relaxed vibe to the way that Hyunjin raps. It always adds like a certain like swagger and character and confidence to these songs. Doesn't mean that he can't switch it up, but he doesn't always switch into something that is very like aggressive and forward placing. He's usually the counter to something like Changbin, right? Changbin tends to have a more aggressive performance when he's rapping, so then to have someone like Hyunjin who has more of a laid back swagger to his performance is a great contrast between those two. But sometimes he does a kind of shift and we get more of an aggressive, very like forward sound to him. So it's interesting to get a little bit of that like frustration and anger that he's manipulating in the way that he's performing the main vocal and then having these other vocals layered in over top of it. I also like the one line that was talking about like memories like settle in, like they sink into you. Gonna go over the lyrics more. Yeah, they sink into my head. Such a cool image of talking about the warm memories, right? And like how the light has dimmed. They're floating around. They're like the elephant in the room, right? Like this memory hanging between these two people, right? We're talking about like a love relationship. So having these like good memories, these good times hanging in between us, and then they sink into my head. What a interesting image of the way that they sink into you. They become memories instead of your reality, and like something that you're holding on to but the other person isn't. And that, like, to me, love is not something that turns off. Ooh, interesting with the lyrical stuff too. Again, he's going in and out of a rap cadence and a singing cadence, which, I mean, he can do that, right? He's got the talent for that. And I think that it's interesting to have that kind of shift more into this rap cadence. Like I was saying before, having all these voices, feeling this almost internal struggle and this overwhelm, and like having all this stuff going on inside when you're like hiding away. He's talking about like pulling the covers up, not wanting anyone to see him, right? So this is him almost like putting on a brave face in front of other people, but there's so much more chaos happening internally. So I think that it's cool how we got that shift from having all these like overlapping voices and then adding into that this more rapid delivery when we get into more of a rapping cadence is fascinating to me. Yeah, the chaos of honesty and lies, again, contradicting. I'll repeat the same mistake, like even if I got another try, it would turn out the same way. The love does not have an expiration date. We had the I can't turn love off like a light switch. It's not something that I could just forget about. Struggled to hold myself down and stay strong. Like I was saying, you want to put on a brave front around other people. You want to accept this, right? Because if we're talking about having romantic relationship, the other person is ready to move on, and then you're sat there being like, but I can't just stop being in love. I can't just turn that off and forget about the fact that I'm in love with this person. I can't stop remembering the good memories. I can't move on. It's just over, right? Like the idea of a relationship falling apart in which one person falls out of love and one person doesn't. Even if they can understand that the relationship isn't working, even if they can understand that it should come to an end, you can't just stop loving someone. So I think that it's really interesting to have that idea of like, you want to be strong, you want to have this like brave front and understand that the relationship has to come to an end and this other person doesn't have to love you. But that doesn't change the fact that there's like that struggle, that contradiction within you of not being able to just stop loving that person, even if it would be so much easier if you did. Fascinating decision for like the story of this. I love the like swallow the night too. Like welcoming darkness. I love the layered singing vocals too.
Why is love so contradicting? I can't stop it, so addicting. Why is love so? Why is love so? Why is love so?
Ooh, okay, interesting. Again, I love how we got this, again, more energy in the deliveries. We got into the rap cadence, and then it pulls way back when we get into this like pre-chorus, first half of the chorus, and then the energy is way down. But then we get this, the first line of like, why is love so contradicting? Then the energy ups a little bit, then it ups some more and we get that like vocal layer in there, and then we have almost this like breaking sound, and then the energy like picks up. It's that moment of you getting stuck in your head, getting stuck in these thoughts and this internal stuff that's going on with you, and then you hit that breaking point and you can't hold back all the emotion anymore.
Why is love so contradicting? I can't stop it.
It's cool percussion stuff happening too. And then like the electric guitar comes in. Ooh, Ooh, like even that of being like fade away, get away, wanting to separate yourself from that love, even calling it like addicting, right? You can understand that an addiction is bad for you, right? Anyone who's ever had an addiction understands that it is like self-destructive and bad and you shouldn't have it in your life. And yet it's not that easy. It's not that easy to say, oh, I shouldn't have this addiction anymore. So I think that it's so interesting bringing that in of, like I was talking before, of understanding that this is not something that you should want in your life, right? You should not want to be in a relationship that isn't good for you, that the other person doesn't feel the same way as you. You can understand that the relationship is not working. There is something fundamentally not working with how the relationship is going. Even saying, hey, if I tried this again, I would make the same mistakes. Like, it's not like this is something that can be fixed with even turning back time and trying again. I understand that fundamentally this relationship is not meant to work. Understanding that logically, but that doesn't stop you from having feelings for someone, right? It doesn't stop the fact that you did love that person, or you still love that person, or you have all those good memories. You can understand why you fell in love with that person in the first place, even if logically you can understand that it's not going to work out. So I think that it's so interesting to have that like just fade away, just get away of wanting that separation, wanting to finally be over it, right? Like it would be easier if you fell out of love with this person, if you didn't love them anymore, and being stuck in this place of still loving them and yet not being with them and understanding that you should not be with them. That awful fresh after breakup moment where you're just like, I don't know how I'm going to get to a point in the future in which I am okay, even though it's there. You're gonna get there. You're just not there yet. You're stuck in the awful in between of having been in a relationship and getting over that relationship. And it's so interesting how he's controlling the energy of his voice, right? Again, this control of emotion when he's having more control, and then we have this pickup in the cadence, and then almost like pulling back this like apathy almost in some of the delivery until we get that breaking point going into like when the chorus really lifts, and you can see like he goes into like full singing, and there's more like emotion in that, there's more energy in it, and it's more of this the just fade away, just get away, of this almost like begging, this like desperation to not feel the same way anymore. The production on this is really good too.
조금씩 달리는 기차를 탄 기분 너와 내가 느꼈던 바람은 잠들고 축복받는 기분에 햇살도 잠시 너의 눈망울은 어느새 파도에 삼켜져 차가워진 마음속엔 소리가 맺혀 티가 나나 바닷가도 금방 또 생겨 약속했던 것들의 행방은 이제 물거품이 되어 사라져 눈앞에서 멀리.
Ooh, I feel like I gotta go through every lyric. Yeah, it feels like I'm on a train running without a destination. I totally get that. If you are in love with someone and like your future involves that person. And I was thinking that too, of part of the it's difficult to fall out of love with someone is that you have built a huge portion of your life around being with that person, right? Your part of your future, it involves being with that person. Part of your everyday life routine has to do with being with that person. So even if you understand that you can't be with a functional relationship, it's still really difficult to separate out those things, right? Because now suddenly the future that you imagined doesn't exist anymore. The everyday routine doesn't exist anymore because that person's not part of it anymore. So saying like a train running without a destination of, hey, I don't know where I'm going anymore. Yeah, it's like the breeze that we felt has calmed down. The like emotion there isn't like there anymore. There's like apathy involved with it. The sunshine that was a blessing, again, like playing with like light versus darkness. Your eyes are swallowed by the waves. Why is that so poetic? Why do we just throw that in there? Dang. Because I can see that as tears, right? And is that tears in the other person, or is that tears in his eyes, right? He can't see that person in the same way because there's like that, or there's like tears, or there's turmoil, right? Like feeling like you're lost at sea, feeling like you're sinking, feeling like you're treading water instead of having that like anchor point of that other person, right? Not having a destination. That's such a good line. Dang. Poetry just coming through in this like angsty song. The like frost building up of trying to almost fortify yourself. Yeah, like even if I try to move on, it builds up again, trying to get to a point where you're okay, or getting to a point where you've moved on, or getting to a point where you can even, maybe if you have to interact with this person again, but you're not in a relationship with them, how do you interact with them casually, right? Like how do you not have to like fortify yourself before having the interaction? Whew, man. No, I knew this was gonna be good, but I was like, I wasn't expecting to have to break down so much stuff. I wasn't expecting it to be so rich with all of the imagery and stuff that's going on.
받는 기분에 햇살도 잠시 잠시 너의 눈망울은 어느새 파도에 삼켜져 차가워진 마음속엔 소리가 맺혀 티가 나나 바닷가도 금방 또 생겨 약속했던 것들의 행방은 이제 물거품이 되어 사라져 눈앞에서 멀리
And the like bubbles disappearing.
우리의 시간들은 어느새 또 공백 서로 시작해 이제 마지막 장을 적다가 시를 써내.
Started out as a novel, but while writing the last chapter, it ended up as poetry? Why are the lyrics popping off on this song so much? Like, partway, like in the last third. Sir, I know you're creative. I know that you're talented. I know that you've been doing this for a while. I know you can write lyrics. Like, give me a break. Give me like a chance to breathe and pull everything in. Okay. That's so wow. Again, like novel as in like a story, a fantasy, a picture perfect kind of romance, right? Despite the turbulations, there's going to be a happy ending. And then ended up as poetry of being like, not necessarily like tragedy, but there's something less tangible about poetry. There's something like harder to understand or decipher with poetry. It's short-lived too, right? Like poetry usually, unless you get like epic poetry, poetry tends to be a lot shorter than a novel. So it's, oh, I thought we were writing a novel. And it turns out it was a poem. It turns out it was much more short-lived than I thought it was going to be. So many things. I was also thinking it's interesting that we have two guitars, one that seems to be more melodic, and then one is like this kind of steady palm muting. Again, like two opposing sounds intertwining with each other in a song about like a relationship in which two people are like in different places of what the relationship should be. Just fascinating note. I got distracted by lyrics though.
So I just wanna go back. 우리의 시간들은 어느새 또 공백. 서로 시작해 이제 마지막 장을 적다가 시를 써내. 추억들의 내용은 뒤로 잠시 이별의 짧은 문 닫기 비해 서러움과 새로움이 걸도 잠시 계속 끝으로 써가는 음률에
Even like his vocals there, even with the distortion, I'm like, dang, you got pulled his chest voice up there to get almost like a belting tone. I wasn't ready. Not fully. Dang. I gotta scrub through all the lyrics. Okay. Stories of memories to put behind. Sure. The paragraph about the goodbye is short but deep. Again, poetry, right? Short, but like dense and usually very emotive. And there's always like a lot of rich language in it. And it can like very much resonate with you and stick with you despite being shorter. So it's like the goodbye was poetry, but I thought we were writing a novel. Wow, Hyunjin, sir, I don't know who hurt you, but you showed up for the lyrics of this song. The song I write with the tip of my fingers. Wow. Now I'm gonna have to sit with this song for a bit after I do this video. I'm gonna have to take a second. Dang. Put a little cry in his voice there too. Maybe. It's hard with the distortion. Ooh, that pickup in the production. Ooh, okay, harmonies. I was already thinking we had almost like a cleaner vocal at the beginning there. There's a bunch of distortion on his voice, which I think is very interesting too. Again, if we're talking through like a mask or covering things up or trying to hide what we're feeling, I think that's interesting that we're getting some distortion on his voice when he's getting into more of that like emotional state. But also, again, like the turmoil. If you're like having multiple voices, if there's so much happening inside that it's like distorting your words, it's distorting the way that you can communicate with the world, because what is going on internally is something that you aren't capable of like fully expressing externally, or it isn't something that other people can understand and relate to, right? There's an isolation to the way that you're feeling, and it makes it difficult for people to connect with you in what's going on internally. And we get a bit of a cleaner vocal there before we go back into the distortion, and then gorgeous harmonies that were coming through. Like there's just some post on that, but it's a lot cleaner. Dang. And can we talk about, okay, a couple things. One, I think it's great that we're having those voices harmonize at the end. I was talking about having multiple voices like building up and almost like fighting, interrupting each other, overlapping with each other, contrasting voices, adding to this chaotic feeling earlier on. And at the end, we have them harmonizing. It's almost like the facade slipping and the external expression is syncing up a little bit more with having the harmonies there, or at least like you're starting to understand some of that chaos a little bit better within the contradiction. So it could be more of like an understanding of oneself and how you're feeling about this, but also that we have the song like fade out after having the lyric of just fade away. Dang, wow. No, I knew I was going to enjoy this. I knew it was going to be good. I was not going to be disappointed because I've never been disappointed with any of the songs that they've like the solo little projects that any of the members have done over the years, let alone Hyunjin. But this one, I'm gonna have to sit with it for a little bit because I wasn't expecting him to be that poetic with me in all of the lyrics. I wasn't expecting to have to recalibrate. I was like, hold up, hang on. Wow. No, like he's real good. Anyone who says otherwise must really suck to have that bad taste. To be that unaware of what talent looks like, because dang boy, that was so good. Like I've been recording for a hot minute on this song and we didn't have a music video. Like I think that says a lot about how much time I had to spend on this, whether or not like how it'll work at editing down. But dang, I was not expecting him to be so poetic about that in terms of like lyrical content. I wasn't expecting sonically in terms of the production for us to get those electric guitars, something that feels more like I was saying on like the kind of pop rock, pop punk more inspired side, especially getting some of the like vocal tones that he was doing, getting almost like a belting tone later on where he's pulling up his chest voice. Again, it's a little bit tricky with some of the vocals in this because of the post on them, but I love that he got into some of that rapping cadence and almost this melodic rapping and then singing both in a lighter tone and with having more closure in his vocal cords. Really like a little bit of everything in this. And I think given the like emotional turmoil within the song, that's really fitting to have all these kind of different modes and almost this like fluctuation of emotion and being like apathetic and very subdued in his delivery and then having these huge spikes in emotion and like the vocal melodies, right? Again, contradicting himself in the way that he is feeling in any given moment or how he's trying to communicate it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to sit with that song for a minute before I fully can take it in, because I feel like I wasn't fully prepared for everything that song was gonna throw at me. Wow, okay. I hope you enjoyed listening to that along with me. You can click this playlist to go and see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so next time I post a Stray Kids reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.